On time, so thank you for being on time on this cold, wet evening coming out. My name is Greg Story. I'm the president of Dale Carnegie Course, and I'm going to give you a preview of our very famous Dale Carnegie course. And this course is very unique. I don't know of any course, any training course, that has been going continuously for 104 years. So that says something about how successful the course has been, and we run this course all around the world. We teach it in more than 30 languages, in more than 97 countries. And so it's got some universality of appeal, and it's also timeless, because I think as human beings, we haven't really changed much, and the issues that we face, we're still facing them. And the course answers a lot of those questions. And I'll try and take you through some of that tonight to give you an idea of what's in the course and how it will help you. So, really my job tonight is to help you make one or two great decisions. That's what we'll try and do. And one question we might ask ourselves is, why don't we succeed as much as we should? We should all be more successful. Why aren't we more successful? What's holding us back? What's stopping us from being more successful than we are today? This course explores that. And there's usually two things which have a big impact in our lives, in work and outside of work. And these are dealing with ourselves, overcoming all of the things we need to do within ourselves to be better, but also dealing with others. You can be very, very efficient, really fantastically efficient yourself, but no one likes you. No one helps you. No one cooperates with you. And that's a real problem. So just being efficient by ourselves is good. Hi, welcome, good evening. But it's not enough. So in this course, we actually look at how we can become better ourselves, but also how we can become better with others, which is a very, I think, unique course. It's not often you get the two things together. So in this course, we're going to look at what works and what doesn't work, particularly in dealing with other people. Welcome, good evening. Please join us. We just started, thank you. So, some things we've found over time are effective, and we should do those. And some things we've found are not very effective, and we should stop doing those. And this course really helps to highlight which things work and which things don't work. So, the course looks at how can we be more successful. Now that may be success in business. It may be success in your family life. It might be success with your friends. Okay, it might be success in terms of your own personal development. It'll mean different things to different people. But inside the course, this is what we're trying to look at. How can we be more successful as you define what is success? And how you can become a better you as an individual, but also how to be better with others. And as I said before, we can control a lot of things ourselves, and that's great, but as soon as you start interacting with other people, it gets a bit messy, gets a bit complicated. Okay, they don't have the same value system we have, or the same ideas, or the same time considerations, and life starts to get a bit more complex. So this, particularly in the course, is very, very helpful. So I guess you're here tonight probably because you know you have more potential, and you're interested to try and realize your potential. You're not where you want to be. You know, I can go higher, I can do more. I'm not there yet, I want to be there. Because you come out on a cold, wet night. That's high motivation, right? That's impressive motivation. Okay? And you haven't found the right solution yet, because if you'd found the right solution, you wouldn't be here, would you? You're here looking for that solution, and I think this course is probably going to be the solution for you. So that's some of the reasons why probably you're joining us. And we're going to cover 5 steps which will help us become much more successful. And that's what the course really focuses on, 5 particular steps to make us very successful. Work on you and work on how we get on with others now, particularly or especially those who are not like us. Now, generally speaking, people who are like us, we're not bad, you know, we get on and we make friendships. It's those pesky people who are nothing like us, right? They're just really a pain. What's wrong with these people? Okay? So in this course, we really open up how to get on with everyone, not just the people who are like us. They're the easy ones, right? This is how we get on with the ones who are tough, difficult people to deal with. Now, if we're going to be successful, we've got to make some strategic shifts in our thinking. We've been doing things a certain way, but if we want to get to a different outcome, we've got to change our thinking. We've got to make some shifts in our thinking. And we're going to look at some of these tonight. And by the way, if you'd like the set of these slides, happy to send them to you. Just let me know. Remind me later. Now, this is a success pyramid. And down the bottom, we have things which are things that you can control. And there are other parts which really you have to deal with other people. And so things like controlling our attitude and controlling stress, we can control our attitude and we can control our reaction to stress. So we can do that. Okay? And increasing in confidence, well, we can control how we feel about being confident. We can control that. But the others, having better relationships with people, this is a bit more difficult to control because you're dealing with others, of course. Or gaining cooperation. Again, you could be really excellent in your work, really efficient, hard worker, great worker, but people around you don't cooperate. And you find you're doing everything on your own all the time. And when you ask for cooperation, they're not very positive. And then, being a leader. Okay? Being a leader means getting people to follow you. So, this group in the success pyramid, that's dealing with other people, and these two, we can really control them ourselves. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail. And is it easy to be successful with a negative attitude? Or if you're under a lot of stress, is it easy to be successful, do you think? Generally speaking, no. If you're really, I'm hopeless, the world's hopeless, life is bad, this company's bad, the people around me are bad, everything about this is bad. If you're in that very negative mindset, well, it's hard to be successful because people stay away from you, your company doesn't regard you well, they just think you're a complainer the whole time. Or if you're under a lot of stress, your mind is preoccupied with many things, or you're feeling very tense all the time, tired all the time from the tension. So you don't have enough energy to put into work, and your mind is really feeling the pressure. So it's very hard to be successful if you've got a negative attitude or if you're feeling stressful. So what can we do about that? Well, in this pyramid of success, we can improve our control over our attitude and stress, or we can be stuck in negativity. So we have to make a choice here. Are we going to be trying to improve in this area, or are we going to be letting negativity overrun us? So it's very easy for negativity to overrun us. We have to really work hard to make sure that doesn't happen. So how do you control your attitude and your stress now? So maybe you can make a little group of 3, a little group of 2 here, and a group of 2. Just have a quick discussion amongst yourselves. What do you do now? What do you do to keep your attitude positive today? I mean, there's lots of negative things out there in the world, but what do you do today to keep your own attitude positive? What do you do to deal with your own stress? Please, have a discussion. Take a few moments, have a discussion. So how do we go? Get a bit of a chance to discuss that a little bit there. You just got to tell us a brand new secret there. You've got something interesting to tell us? What do you do about your own attitude and stress? What do you do for that?
So I probably think about sort of my attitude is like, why am I feeling this way? And is this worth doing something? Like, for example, if I'm going to do something and I feel a bit negative, I'll think back as, do I need to do this? Or do I want to do this?
Am I putting too much stress on myself?
Exactly, right. If I'm not really interested in doing this, then I just give up.
Yeah, okay. Control that. How about you? How about you guys? What do you do for controlling the attitude and stress now? What's working?
So we discussed that we usually do like go to the gym.
Go to the gym, yeah, work out. Get some
Yoga, maybe.
yoga, yeah.
Or like putting ourselves in different circumstances, like chatting with friends, going out for dinner.
Trying to improve your mood.
Sleeping a lot.
Sleeping a lot sounds good. Yeah.
Movie.
Yeah, movies.
Yeah. So putting ourselves in different.
Change our mind a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
How about you guys?
Yeah, we had very similar things to the other groups. Definitely talking to people, exercising. She says she writes everything down on paper, writes the positives in the diary, looks at the positive sides rather than the negative.
Right. So we've all found something, haven't we, that's going to help us with our stress and our attitude. Well, the good news is, in addition to what you've found, in this course, you're going to learn 3 fundamental principles of how to overcome worry. You're going to learn 4 basic techniques that help you to analyze what's worrying you. You're going to learn 6 techniques that will help you break the worry habit, which becomes a habit, how to break that habit of worrying before it breaks you. 7 techniques to have a mental attitude that will make you feel peaceful and happy. You're going to have 3 ways of learning how to stop worrying about people criticizing you, and 6 ways to stop feeling fatigue and worry and keep your energy and your spirits up. This is what we're going to cover in the course. Now, tonight, I'm just going to pick up 3, right, as an example. I won't go through all. I haven't got time to go through. You've got to do the course to get all that stuff, right? It takes a while. But tonight, we'll just deal with 3. The first one is an idea from Dale Carnegie called live in day-tight compartments. What this means is you seal off today and you don't allow anything from yesterday to impact on today. And you seal off tomorrow. And you can plan for tomorrow, and you should plan for tomorrow, but you shouldn't worry about tomorrow. Okay, we spend a lot of our time fighting about things that happened in the past, and we spend a lot of our time worrying about things that haven't happened yet. We can plan for them, but don't worry about them. That's the difference. So a day-tight compartment is just today. So we take, okay, I'm not going to let yesterday and tomorrow upset my day today. I'm going to focus on what I need to focus on in my work or in my relationships today and clear all that other noise out. So that helps a lot. When you do that, you just say, no, yes, there's something bothering me from last week or last month, but I'm going to stop worrying about that. I'm going to focus on what I can do today. Or yeah, there's things going to happen next week or next month or tomorrow, but I'll plan for that, but I'm not going to give it any worry. I'll plan but not worry about it. I'm going to concentrate on today and really focus today. That is one idea. Okay. The second one is, here's a way of how to face trouble. I think someone mentioned that about, first of all, ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can possibly happen? Now, it sounds like a very simple thing to ask that question, but often we've got a lot of things buzzing around in our mind. Worries, little worries. We haven't really focused on what is the really big thing, the one main thing that's a problem for us. This other stuff's noise. This makes you look at, well, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Let me be clear about this. What is the worst thing that can possibly happen? Get clarity around that. Then, okay, prepare to accept the worst. Think, all right, this is going to happen. This is how it's going to be. All right, I accept it. When you do that, you start to stop worrying about it. Because you said, well, I accept this is going to happen. This is the worst thing that can happen. I accept it's going to happen. So I'll stop fighting it now. Then, try to improve on the worst. So what can I do that will make it not the worst? Okay, I'm not going to fight it, but I'm going to try and improve a little bit on that. Okay, that's the idea. So, first of all, really think through, what is the worst? Get it very clear. This might happen, okay, but what can I do less than that outcome? Okay, what can I do? The third one here is remind yourself of the high price we pay for worry in terms of our health. Now, we know today that what's going on in our mind impacts our chemistry in our body. We call that in English psychosomatic illnesses, where the mind makes the body ill. Now, 100 years ago, they didn't know that. They hadn't chemically connected the mind and the body yet in that way. But today, through modern medicine and science, we know. We know that if we are worried, it does impact on our health. We pay a price for that. So, what this says is, don't leave it. Don't gum on. Don't persevere. Do something about it, because if you don't, you will pay a price with your health. And this is not a light thing. And many people are ill as a result of that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take each of these again. I'll go back up here. So maybe you can talk about this one. How can we make this work? How can we apply that idea of shutting out yesterday and tomorrow and just focusing on today as an idea? How can we use that? How can we apply that idea? And for you guys, can you think about this, right? What's the worst that can possibly happen? How do we go about applying this? How can we accept that? And then how can we try and improve on that? And for you guys, we're going to talk about the high cost of not doing something about stress and worry, right? How can we remind ourselves that we actually got to deal with this and not just leave it? Everyone clear on what you're going to discuss? Everyone good? Okay, please discuss. Well, let's see how far you've got it. Okay, we'll start with number 3. What can we do here to make sure we don't just let it sit there and make us ill? What can we do? What do you think?
So if we have something stressed, then we want to get mental disease or breakdown or physical breakdown as well. So just imagine it like that.
Yeah. So have a very clear picture of no action has a cost. The idea that no action has no cost, in this case, doesn't apply. No action has a cost. So you need to be at yoga or going to the movies or sports or Dale Carnegie Course or whatever it might be. You need to take some action there, because if you don't, it's got a cost. How about this one? You're journaling everything, which is very good.
Yeah.
So maybe for you this is an easy one, I wonder. What did you think? Can we apply this?
Well, for example, if I try to make this a start business, then but I can't do it because I'm bored. Then ask myself like, what is the worst thing that possibly happened? Probably like go bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So then we need to accept the worst. thing. Is that,
What we're doing here is we're calling out the bad thing that we're worried about, but maybe we haven't really specified what is that really bad thing, because we might have levels of worry. What's the really deep thing that's bothering us? We call that out. We say, okay, well if that happens, all right, I accept it'll happen, but maybe I can still do something. Right? That's our idea. And how about this one, Daytime? How do we use this?
I actually didn't get an answer. Well, only way is just to move on. But because we just focus on now, here, we are. Just
Let's
forget
try.
about all the past.
Yeah, we're controlling our mind. We're controlling our mind and saying, I'm not going to let that discussion I had with my colleague last week that upset me impact today's work. I'm not going to replay that conversation. Don't we do that? We replay they said this and I should have said that, and it just keeps going. This is where we cut it. We say, okay, enough. Stop. No, enough. Cancel that. No more. And again, for going forward, stop there too. We're not going to let that worry us. We concentrate on what we can control. So these are simple ideas that work well. So, what are the things we need to be doing to be more positive and have less stress? These are things that the course looks at, and particularly deals with this whole idea of stress as a problem. So our first decision, are we going to choose to control or not control our attitude? And we choose whether we're not going to control our attitude and keep feeling stressed. That's a decision. Or are we going to switch to a more positive attitude and control our stress? That's a decision we've got to make. If you want to make that decision, then you need help. Because if you would have made that decision already, you would have done it by now. This is where we go through the stress management principles of Dale Carnegie, and it helps us to learn how to make this choice rather than that choice. Right? So it gives us some help on how to do that. And now we're going to look at coming up into increasing our confidence. We want to grow our confidence and not grow our fear. Now, we all have fears, but by increasing our confidence, we grow it, the fears become less. And we challenge more, and we'll be more successful, we'll be more positive in our career and more positive in our feeling and our attitude. So this is Einstein's definition of insanity, of being crazy. And it's doing the same thing over and over again, but you expect a different result. Now, often we do that. We keep repeating the same things, hoping we're going to get a different outcome. According to Einstein, we're crazy if we do that, right? So, obviously, if we want a different outcome, a different result, we have to do something different. Can't keep doing the same things to get the same results all the time. So, why? Why do we keep doing things in the same way? But we keep getting the same results. Why do we do that? What's making us do that? One of the reasons is this. This is our comfort zone. This is outside our comfort zone. And outside our comfort zone are wonderful things and scary things. Now, our comfort zone is where we feel very competent. We're already good at something. We know how to do it. We're very confident about that. We've had experience doing the past. We have maybe a reputation for being good at that particular thing. All good. All confident inside here. But it's outside that we're talking about. So if you want to grow, if you want to become better, more successful, then you've got to step out of your comfort zone. Because you keep doing the same things the same way in here, you'll only get the same result. Your result will not go up unless you move outside of this comfort zone. But we're scared to do it. We're scared to fail. We're scared of being criticised. We're scared to challenge. We're scared to do new things. One of the great things about this Dale Carnegie course is it really helps us to move outside of our comfort zone, to where all the good things are. Yes, it's scary, but the course, because it's 12 weeks, it's very gradual. It's very gradual. It doesn't come in a hurry. Very gradually, you're growing in confidence, you're testing yourself, challenging new things, and you gradually feel that confidence build over a 12-week period. It's not a rush thing, it's a slow, gradual process. It's very important we do that. Now, the empowerment cycle for confidence is very important. If we're going to take more control over our careers and our lives, we've got to start here with increasing our self-confidence. The course helps you to do that. Once you start increasing your self-confidence, then you can direct yourself. You can have more control over where you go and what you do and how you do it. You volunteer for projects. You think of new ideas. And then you can evaluate your progress. Oh, that went well, that didn't go so well, I could have done it this way, it would have been better this way, I should have said that, I shouldn't have said that. And then you correct. Next time I'll do it differently. And it just keeps on going. But you've got to start here. The problem is, if we're doing the same things the same way all the time, how do you become more confident? This is why the course is so strong, because it helps us to do that. And the thing is though, even if you stay, you think, oh, I'll stay where I am. Well, that doesn't work either. Because your industry's changing. Market is definitely changing. Your customer is changing. And your company is changing. So even people who think, oh, I'll just stay where I am, they start to get left behind. So we have to adapt. We have to challenge. Otherwise, we can't keep up. So, here's the question. How do you plan to keep up? All these things are happening. What are you going to do about it? What have you been doing so far? And what will you do from now on to keep up? So the second strategic shift in our thinking is, what happens if I can't adjust fast enough as we go from yesterday through today on to tomorrow? As society and business just keeps moving rapidly this way, and I can't adjust fast enough, what am I going to do? How do I keep up with the technology? How do I keep up with the information? How do I keep up with the change in every direction? Industry, people, the works, technology, the whole thing. What do I do if I can't adjust? This is the question. So, what happens if you are not able to change fast enough because you're stuck in your comfort zone? It's going to be a problem. There's going to be definitely a problem. And what do you do? How do you get out of the comfort zone? That's easy to say, but it's not so easy. If it was easy to do, you would have come out of your comfort zone already. You would have already done it, right? But it's not that easy. So, decision 2 is, okay, do we stay inside the comfort zone and become a victim of change? Or do we become someone who's confident, more confident, and go forward to higher and better performance? So that's the decision we've got to make. Are we going to stay here, or are we going to go forward? That's our second strategic decision. So what do you like in dealing with people who are not like you? What do you like at that? Not so easy, is it? We're now up here into enhancing our relationships with others. This is us. Now this is dealing with other people, right? And being able to build rapport, to build a good relationship with other people, is one of the great skills in life and in business. But not everybody's good at it. Not everyone's skilled at it. These are things that we can learn. If we don't, people are indifferent to us. They don't care. Right? We don't have a good relationship, and they don't care about helping us, following us if we're the leader, listening to us, suggesting ideas to us. They don't care. So we want to have good rapport with people. So what are the things you need to do to be better at dealing with people? This is the question. Because dealing with people is the trickiest aspect of success in life and business. So what do you need to do to become better? Now, Dale Carnegie has 9 principles of how to be better with people. And today we'll look at 4 of them as an example. Okay? The first one is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. So if you want to have a good relationship with people and you scold them, oh, you forgot to do the project. This part of the project wasn't done on time, or oh, you didn't get your budget in on time, or oh, you didn't come to the meeting, or whatever it might be. Well, we're criticizing other people. How's their reaction usually? Do they go, you're completely right, yes, I made a big mistake, I'm sorry? Is that how they react? No. Normally they try and defend themselves, they justify why they didn't do something or why they didn't attend something, and they don't like you anymore. Now you are out, right? They don't like you anymore. So that's where Dale Carnegie said, well look, if you want to have a good relationship with people, don't do that. This is one of the things I said before about things that work and things that don't work. You might feel good scolding someone, but your relationship will be broken from that point. That's going to make it very hard to get cooperation. So better not to do that. Don't criticize them, complain to them about them, or condemn them. That's principle number 1. Another one is give honest, sincere appreciation. Now the key word here is honest. Another key word is sincere, not fake praise. You know, Japan's fantastic, you know. And gomasuri, right? Japan's like so good at doing this, praising people, but it's fake praise. Dale Carnegie's not talking about that. He's talking about actually looking carefully what the person's doing and talking about that thing to them. So, you know, if you'd all come, half an hour late tonight, for example, and I said, oh, thank you for all being on time, that's really great, you're wonderful. You'd be going, hang on a minute, we're half an hour late. See, my praise for being on time would have not been correct because it was not the case. You know, but if you were on time and I said, thank you for being on time, that's real, that's on, you know, yes, that's right, that was fine. Or if you do something and I recognize you did it, and it's real, and you know it's real, then the praise is believable. And people do appreciate it when they get that recognition because, well, here's a question. Put your hand up if you received some praise from your boss today. Okay, how about last week?
I did.
You did? Very good. There's a lot of people here not putting their hand up, right? How about last month? Yeah, some? Yeah? So basically, we don't get a lot of praise in reality in business particularly. Right? We don't get a lot of praise. So by giving people praise and recognizing it's got to be real, they really feel, oh, yeah, you recognize I'm working hard. You recognize I'm doing a good job. That's right, I am. And then they feel good about you because it's real. If it's fake, if it's gomasuri, just fake praise, then I should be careful of this person. They're not very trustworthy, right? Another one is arousing the person an eager want. Now, often we ask people to do things. You know, please do this, I need this done, I need this report, but they're not very eager. They don't understand, often they don't understand the why. It's very typical of bosses, right? Bosses will tell you what to do, They might tell you how, but they very rarely tell you why you're doing it. So they say, look, we need this done, get it done by 12. They don't explain the why part. When we understand how to deal with people, and we explain the background and what's driving the need, then they become also energized. Yeah, that's right, we should do that. I see why that's important. Oh, I understand. Yeah, now I see why that's got to be done by 12. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I understand that now. So when we're using our communication skills in the Dale Carnegie course, we start to learn how to talk about things from their point of view and what's going to get them excited rather than what I want. Well, I want this, and then I want that, and this is important to me, and this will be good for me, me. We flip that, and we learn how to talk about what's important for that person. So they're keen. They're keen. They want to help. Right? But that's a skill. And then another one is become genuinely interested in other people. You know, it's very interesting for me. I've worked at many companies in Japan, big companies. And often, you know, I'll ask, what's Suzuki-san's shita no namae? Nobody knows, you know. It's surprising sometimes. Like, you know, what's their personal name? Suzuki who? I don't know. So even though we work together, it's often surprising how little we know about each other. And when you become interested in other people, guess what? They become interested in you. So taking that time to build a relationship with other people by finding out about them and what they've done. I mean, when I was working for a company in Australia, we had an off-site, and in the process of, we had an exercise where we had to introduce each other. And I'd introduce this person, they'd introduce me. I found out one of the guys I work with is born in America. I didn't know that. Found out another guy could fly an aeroplane, light aircraft. I didn't know that. I worked like this close to these people every day for years. Had no idea. So often we've got a great chance to get to know people and have a good common bond and a friendship and a good cooperation if we get to know them more. And so in this course we learn how to have these sorts of conversations so that we do have a nice meeting of the minds here and we get cooperation. So, have a little check-in in your group. What have you learned so far? Have a little check-in with your group. What have you learned so far? That's one of the big insights from the Dale Carnegie course. You know, when we interact with people, we tend to interact in the same direction all the time because we don't change what we do. Okay? We're waiting for them to change. Guess what? They're waiting for us to change. So neither of us are changing, and we keep interacting exactly the same way, often not getting very positive results. In the Dale Carnegie course, we learn to use the Dale Carnegie principles. And when we pick up one of these principles to use, it's amazing. We just change the angle 1 degree, just 1 little degree. And because we come at a different angle, their reaction is different. And people we couldn't get cooperation from before react differently. And people we had trouble with before are now interacting with us in a new way. It is an amazing thing, such a simple 1 degree change. The beauty of this course is it teaches you how to make that little change. But we have to change. We have to change. I had one funny experience. Older gentleman was doing the course. He's at the graduation ceremony, you know. And in his graduation report, he said, "You can't believe how much my wife has changed since I started doing this Dale Carnegie course." What he hadn't realized was he had changed. And so his relationship with his wife had changed. And that's really what happens. Because of these principles, we do change, and therefore our relationship with others change. But it doesn't happen by itself. That's why you need the training in the course to learn how to do that. That's why it's so powerful. So, our third strategic shift in our thinking is, do we continue to have trouble dealing with people, especially those not like us, or do we become skilled in dealing with everyone? And I emphasize everyone, because when you do this training, you will become skilled in dealing with everyone. This is a really breakthrough idea in the training we do. It takes 12 weeks to go through the course, but in that process, this is one of the big things you'll learn. So, why is it hard to gain willing cooperation from people? Willing cooperation, not they do it because they feel they have to, or you're the boss and have to follow the boss's orders, or you're the senpai or senior and they've got to follow you. Not that, but they actually want to cooperate. Why is that so hard? Well, we're going to have a look now at how to gain cooperation. When we gain cooperation, we have influence. If we don't gain cooperation, we get very passive compliance, passive acceptance. They don't come up with ideas. They come to work on time in the section. They do that. They go to lunch at the right time, But they don't really contribute much. They do their job, but the job is very much in this box. Anything outside that box, no. Not my job. We want to have cooperation. We want to have influence. So they come up with ideas and they come up with suggestions and they volunteer for projects and they help us on our projects. That's what we want. But to get that requires good communication skills. And this course spends a lot of time on getting those communication skills and understanding others to get that cooperation. So, what happens if we only get compliance? Have a think about this. If we only get the minimum, what happens in our companies? What do you think? Have a little discussion. This is all, only we get is passive compliance. What's the result if that's all we get? Please have a discussion. Okay, let's get some feedback. What happens if all we get is this very passive compliance? What happens? What happens to our business? What happens to our companies?
Well, the company will not have a good orders towards our company, and obviously the company will not do
Company won't go forward, right? Yeah.
I just want to add, so the level of engagement in their work is not going to be as high as somebody who's really passionate
Yeah.
in doing something.
Yeah. They don't care, right? If you don't care, you're not going to innovate, right? If you don't care, you're not going to bother being creative. If you don't care, you're not going to try and find a better way of doing things. That's the problem, They don't care, so they don't worry about improvements. And the company does an improvement. Often, it's the people at the bottom of the organisation who've got all the ideas. But their bosses never get beyond this. They just get passive compliance and never get those ideas out. Right? And the people at the bottom got the real world experience, the daily experience. They see the opportunities, but they never say anything because the culture is just do your job and don't speak up. It's very expensive. Very expensive. Doesn't look like it, but there's a big opportunity cost there. Okay. So these are some things we look at. So in Dale Carnegie Course, there are 12 principles we use to get people to agree with our thinking. Now often, when we have an idea, what happens? We put our idea up, we suddenly got a whole bunch of critics criticizing our idea. It's tough, it's hard. Today we're going to look at 3 of these principles. The first one is, this is getting cooperation, right? How to get cooperation. Try to see things honestly from their point of view. Okay? Think about how the world looks from their side as opposed to our side. Often it's I want. And we forget about, well, they have needs too. If we want to get good cooperation, we should also understand what's driving their desire and try and see the world from their point of view. Okay. When we have those sorts of experiences, we start to see things differently. There's a very interesting story in a book I read about a guy who was riding on the subway in New York. You may have read this story. And there was a father with about 3 or 4 kids. And the kids are just going crazy. They're swinging on the thing and they're screaming and running up and down. They're making a riot, It's like really, it's Sunday and it's really bad. So this guy went to the father and he said, "Sir," being American, "Sir, could you please control your children?" And the guy said, oh, yeah, sorry. We've just come from the hospital. Their mother has just died. Now, he could see the father's position from a completely different viewpoint. He could see the children's position from a completely different viewpoint. And he could understand immediately why that situation was happening. But often that's the case, We see something and we don't like it. We don't know what's going on in that person's life that's driving that. All of us are carrying a heavy burden. All of us. Somewhere. So, as a starting point of being good with people, don't think about what you want. Think about what that person might have happening in their life that's making them like that. Something's driving them. So try and see it from their point of view, not just from our point of view. That's one of the principles. Another one is, let the other person feel the idea is theirs. Now, if you have an idea and you put up your idea, well, you still own it. And the people listening to this don't feel any connection to your idea. But if you describe a situation, if you describe a problem, and you ask them, well, what do you think? They might come up with exactly your idea. Because probably there's going to be only a few ideas that are going to work. Then they say the idea, you say, well, let's do that. Guess what? They own it. But if you said, right, we're going to do this, okay? Maybe you don't think that that's okay. Maybe you're thinking, nah, not really convinced about that. But if I ask you, look, here's the situation, what do you think? And you come up with exactly the idea I've thought about that I want to suggest, well, I ask your opinion, and I say, well, yeah, okay, let's do that. You are 100% engaged, you are 100% owning the idea, and you're right behind it, because I've created an opportunity for you to express your idea, as opposed to telling you just what I think. So this principle is very powerful. It's not being sneaky. It's not trying to manipulate someone. It means don't put out your ideas straight away. Get other people involved. Get them to think about their ideas and see if you can get your ideas to match up. You get a lot more cooperation that way, much smoother. But this takes training. If this was easy, we wouldn't need a 12-week Dale Carnegie course. We'd all be brilliant at it already. This is why the training itself and the course is so important, because intellectually, we can understand this stuff. But doing it, this is not so easy, the doing part. Thinking, easy. Doing, not so easy. And the last one is, let the other person do a great deal of the talking. Now, often when we're very excited about something, or if we're the leader, well, we want to tell people stuff, don't we? We want to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Well, when you're doing all the talking, you're only hearing your ideas. You're only hearing your perspective. If we learn to let the other person talk, or we ask questions to get them talking, we're going to get them more engaged and more involved. They're going to have more ownership. They're going to come out with ideas. They're going to feel close to us. They're going to want to cooperate. Right? Because they feel that had their say. Oh, my ideas were considered. My viewpoint was considered. I got a chance to say what I thought. I feel I was treated properly. People often get missed out. Now, particularly in any group, you're going to have people who are rather quiet. And often they just get no airtime at all. All the noisy people, take up all the space. And they never get to get their ideas out. But if we learn our Dale Carnegie principles, and we let them talk, and we don't interrupt them, and we don't finish their sentence for them, and we don't cut them off, as often we do, and they get to speak, they feel very motivated. They feel like they can express themselves. And guess what? They like you. They like you because you let them speak. And no one ever lets them speak. It's a simple thing. Think about somebody at work and try it. Don't do all the talking. Let them speak. Ask them questions, but then let them talk. You'll find your relationship will change. It's very, very interesting. So, how about, are you able to speak up in front of a small or a large group very comfortably, very clear, very persuasive? Are you able to do that? In this course, you will do a lot of talking in front of small groups, large groups. And there's that confidence thing I said before, because it's gradual, it changes. When I did the course, there was a young Russian girl in my class. And at the very beginning, we had to do our self-introduction. And this is how she did her self-introduction. Like this, body language was like this, looking down, very defensive, tiny little voice, you can hardly hear her voice. Wow, you should have seen her 6 weeks later. You should have seen that same woman 6 weeks later. It was unbelievable. I'm sitting there in the class going, is this the same woman I saw 6 weeks ago who couldn't even say her own name? Incredible. Because we get a chance to practice these things, which are very key skills. And we're going to teach you the magic formula in a moment. The magic formula is fantastic for being persuasive. Very powerful technique. It works like this. You start with telling an incident, something that happened, the background of something, which is usually the why that you believe something to be true, or why you are recommending something that we should do. And at the end, only 5% of your talking time, you recommend an action. And then after that, having recommended the action, you think of the benefit of that action. So the last thing that the person hears is the benefit of the action that you've recommended. But they've got all this context. Now, often I hear, particularly people who do business degrees, business school, I was told I had to put the conclusion up the front. Right? Yes, if you are writing a paper, if you're writing a business study, if you're writing a recommendation, writing, yes. But when we're speaking, no. Because if we put our conclusion up at the beginning with no background, no context, what happens? Everybody becomes a critic. Everyone's sitting there going, well, that won't work. Well, that's a bad idea. That's crazy. Because there's no background. So if you put up your idea first, it's going to be like duck hunting season, They put the shotgun there, bang! They're going to shoot your idea out of the sky. So this is not a very clever thing to do when we're speaking. Writing is different. So I want you now, each individually, to think of something you would like us to do. Recommend something. Be from your work, it might be something we should do. Buy your product or buy your service or whatever it might be. Or take some action. Think of an action. Think of an action that you want us to take, and then what is the benefit of that action? Right? If we take your advice and we do it, what's the benefit? Okay? Can you start with that? Start with an action you want us to take and what's the outcome, the benefit. So have a think about that first, okay? Pick something. Could be anything. It could be, go to the gym more often. It could be take up jogging. It could be see more movies. It could be, do the Dale Carnegie course. Whatever the action we're going to recommend, right? Think of an action you think we should do, and what's the benefit? So I'll give you a little moment. Think about that, and then we're going to do the why part in a minute, okay? Action benefit first, okay? When you've got the action benefit, please stand up. Happened. What was your experience that made you think that? Something happened in your personal life or in your business life, some experience you had where you realized, oh, we should do this. If we do this, this will be a benefit to us. This will be good for us. Think about this incident. What happened in the past? What was driving that idea? What experience did you have? Now, particularly we're looking for people. We're looking for places. We're looking for time, season of the year, when it happened, where it happened, who was there, what happened. Now, for example, it's 2007. I was taking the 12-week Dale Carnegie course. And we had a whole disparate group of people, some Japanese, some foreigners, and there was one Russian girl in my class. And she was so shy, she couldn't even introduce her name when she did her self-introduction to the very first class. But that class was so fantastic for her. It completely changed her personality. And she became very confident and very outgoing. And her career really took off. So, take the Dale Carnegie course, and if you do, you will see your career also take off. You see? Got the idea? I went back, it was 2007, Russian girl, Dale Carnegie 12-week course. This is the situation. This is what happened. I recommend you take the same action. This will be the benefit. See how it works? Got the idea? Everyone good? All right. Please put your stuff down and just stand up and find a partner. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Let's switch over now and get the other side to go. All right. So the other side will tell their story. Remember, people, places, season, time. Make it rich in detail. Give the background. Then give us your action recommendation and the benefit if we take your advice. Okay. Good. You can use immediately. If you've ever got to get someone to do something and want to persuade them, rather than stating a conclusion at the beginning, give them the background. Because often when we give them the why, their conclusion themselves is, oh, well, we should do this, which is what you're going to recommend. Mentally, they've already decided this is what should happen. So when you get around to telling them this part, they're already in total agreement. And then they hear this is the benefit. So it's very, very powerful magic formula. But it requires practice, like you just did then. And we do practice it like this too, in partners, and then we get the chance to try it and refine it. Okay, so these are some of these we're practicing. We're going to be in the course. We're just going to practice there. So the fourth strategic shift in our thinking, right, is are we going to be the person who others don't want to help, they're reluctant to help, or are we going to be the person they want to help because you have persuasive ability? Right? This doesn't come naturally. We have to train ourselves and learn these things, and this is what the course focuses on. How to have that persuasive ability to get cooperation from other people and have a good relationship with everybody. So, are you able to inspire other people? Especially those not like you. Now, this is what happens when you become a leader. We have to inspire people who are not like you. They didn't become the leader, you became the leader, but they're different to you. So this makes life a little bit interesting. So now we're up here at the top. We're going to lead. Okay, we're going to be the leader. We're going to have people following us, or they're going to be resenting, rejecting us as the leader, not following us. So, are you able to inspire other people to higher levels of performance. Now, you may not be a leader yet in your company as a designated role, but you learn these skills now to become the leader. By getting cooperation from other people and being persuasive, the company recognizes, oh, you have the ability to take people with you. That's the sort of person we're looking for in this company, to be a leader in our organization. That's why this is a very great skill. So the Dale Carnegie Course has 9 principles which demonstrate leadership and change attitudes and behaviors in others. Right? So these are very, very good principles. We're going to pick up 3. The first one, begin with praise and honest appreciation. Right? Again, by praising people, again, it's got to be honest, not fake stuff. Then, as a leader, people feel more motivated. Right? When you get praised, people feel, oh, I'm recognised. My hard work's been seen. I'm not just working in a vacuum here. My boss actually sees what I'm doing. And you feel more motivated when that happens, right? You feel you're appreciated. Because often in a big organisation, we feel we're just a little wheel, you know, in this big organisation, this big machine, and what we do doesn't mean much. But when your leader picks you out and says, you know what, your little wheel is very important in our big organisation, because without that we couldn't do these other things, then you feel, yeah, well, my job has importance. You feel motivated. So as a leader, you want people to feel motivated. But you have to set that up. You have to be a good communicator. You've got to be able to speak to people in a way that they feel appreciated, and then praise has got to be real. Right? It's got to be real. And this is a good one too. Ask questions instead of giving orders. It's easy to tell people what to do. Okay, I want you to go and meet the client, come back and give me a report on what happened. Easy to do that. And when we're in a busy life, we tend to shorten everything down. We forget. If we ask questions instead of giving direct orders, the ownership of the people we're leading goes right up, and their motivation goes right up as well. Just telling them what to do, they feel just being bossed around and micromanaged, and I don't really want to do this, and I don't. Why is it important? I don't think it's important. I don't agree with it. Something a lot of resistance. By asking questions, well, what do you think we should do? How do you think we should approach this client? What do you think we should do on this project? Where do you think we should spend the marketing money this particular half year? Whatever it might be, rather than giving a direct order, you've now got the people you're leading following you with passion and enthusiasm. That's what we want. Right? We need to have these principles to do that. And finally, make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. When we went through the magic formula, because you gave some background, they felt, oh, okay, yeah, I see why that works. Yeah, okay, I can see why you think like that. Oh, yeah, I see why that's a good thing we should do. You gave them some background, then they're happy to follow your action, recommendation, because you set it up. And this is a skill we learn in the course, how to set up these conversations so that people are energized, motivated, committed, and passionate to come with us when we're the leader. And as I said before, you don't have to wait till you're the leader. You can do that now with your colleagues. And you will be recognized as someone who can lead other people, and you become designated. You get picked up as a leader as a consequence. Now, strength-centered feedback, we talk about praise, is very important. So I want you to select in your mind one of your colleagues that you want to influence. Okay? Pick someone at work in your mind, someone you want to influence. Pick something real about them. Something real about them and recognize it. Then give them the feedback. So you pick someone, you've got someone in your mind. Okay? Think about something they do that's real, that you want to praise, you want to recognize. And then try to give him the feedback. Deliver it. Alright? Got someone in your mind? If you got someone in your mind, stand up. Got someone in your mind, stand up. We're teaching communication. Like, giving feedback sounds like it's an easy thing, you know. begin with honest praise, appreciate. Sounds easy, except when you have to get up and do it and make it work. When you say something very general, that's good. But when you say something very concrete and real, boom, that is really powerful. So this is what you learn in the course. How to take things and make them really work for you in a powerful way to get cooperation and get motivation from the team. Right? You just had an example of that there, right? We did this practice, so we'll keep going. Fifth strategic shift now thinking, right? So, do we choose to get resistance when we try to lead, or do we become a leader who can influence people to follow them? Right? Actually really come with them. This is what we're going to make a decision. Which one of these are we going to be? Get resistance or get people to follow us? So, I said at the beginning, my job was to help you make one or two good decisions. Right? And we've had 5 strategic shifts there to make some decisions about what we are going to do. Right? That's what we're trying to work out tonight. What will I do this or will I do this? Right? We've had a look at those. So, are you going to be overtaken by change, or you're going to decide to have a positive attitude, control your stress? That's a decision that I hope you'll make. Which one will you do? Right? That's a decision you have to make. So which one will it be? Or, you look at this. Roughly about 20% of our graduates at their graduation presentation, they talk about their ability to control their attitude and their stress has a tremendous impact on their productivity at work and therefore their careers. It's about roughly 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people make that comment. I had all the stress, and I wasn't being very productive at work, but thanks to this course, I learned how to control my stress, my attitude, and my productivity just went like that. We hear that. Or are we going to be stuck in our comfort zone, scared to try the new? Or we get the confidence to move forward and get better results, challenge things, volunteer, do things differently, try new things. This is how we get progress. We have the right attitude. You get knowledge. The problem is you get stuck here. Unless you actually take the knowledge and use it in practice, it doesn't become the new skill. So just getting information, you can look at the TED Talk, you can read the book, you can read the article. Just getting knowledge is not enough. This doesn't take us far enough. Right? You get this, I know, but I don't do it. Oh, I understand, but I don't use it. I get it, but I don't apply it. So just having knowledge is not enough. So in the course, it's not just about getting knowledge, it's about applying that knowledge. And that's where we spend a lot of time in helping you how to apply the knowledge you get so that it becomes real for you. Right? So are you going to keep struggling with your relationships with others? Or you're going to learn what doesn't work and stop doing that? Right? And learn what does work and start doing that instead. It's a decision you have to make. Now, I remember one graduate was saying, his boss was a really scary boss. Scary boss, right? But he used the principles he learned in the course. And he was amazed. And everybody in the company was amazed. Their relationship changed. The boss took him out to lunch. The boss never took anybody out to lunch. Ever. But he took this person out to lunch because he used the principles and the relationship changed. And that's how the power of this course can be applied. You can have a different relationship with people. So, are you going to get more cooperation from others, or are you going to keep doing it all by yourself forever? Right? So one of our graduates said, look, he had this colleague, he'd asked a colleague for help. The colleague would always say, no, I'm too busy. Would not help him. He started applying the principles he learned in the course, relationship changed. Completely changed. And he started to get the cooperation he'd always wanted from his colleague. It made his life so much easier. So are we going to be scared of public speaking and have very little influence on others? Very little persuasion power? Or are we going to become comfortable talking, without notes, to a group, be able to persuade people? That's a choice. We need to be able to speak clearly, succinctly, short, right? Confident. These are critical skills in business. Critical skills in business. And, if you've got that skill, you will stand out amongst all the people around you. And it takes practice with coaching. And that's what you'll get in the course. In the same way I was coaching you a little bit there, when you're giving me your feedback, and I said, look for some example, tell me something real that happened, I just coached you a little bit, and suddenly your story became much more powerful, more persuasive. That's how this course works. There's so much coaching in this course. So, you have some choices to make. If we're going to have a conversation again in 12 months' time, what would you want our conversation to be about that would be different? About what's happened in your career? Okay? We're going to talk about your career in 12 months' time. What things would you want to be different than it is today? That's what we've got to think about that. And how do you want to be seen by others? Your colleagues, your bosses, right? Your staff? What things do you want to see there? And how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel confident? Do you want to feel good direction? Do you want to feel skilled? How do you want to feel? So, this is where you are now. So we're going to go from this to where you want to be, to become something else, to this. But there are probably some roadblocks stopping you. So what's stopping you from being where you need to be? It may be that the Dale Carnegie course is the way of getting rid of those roadblocks. It may be the way of how to go from here to here without those roadblocks stopping you. Because it teaches you the skills to be very effective with yourself and with other people. So, if you're going to get started, getting to where you want to be, when are you planning to start? If you're planning to go somewhere and be more effective, when are you planning to do that? You may as well start now. Why wait? Don't put it off. Get started. And in this Dale Carnegie course, we focus on the 5 drivers of business success. Building greater self-confidence. Strengthening your people skills. Enhancing your communication skills. Developing leadership skills. And reducing stress and improving our attitude. They're the 5 drivers I talked about at the beginning, which we've covered tonight. That's what you get from this training. So, why are we so passionate that this works? Well, we see it. Over the course of 12 weeks, we see the people changing. We see it with our own eyes as instructors. And you will see it with your colleagues in the class. You will see them change. You will see them change. We do this because we know it works. We see it works. It's not theory for us, it's reality. So when we do a satisfaction survey on this course, I ask headquarters, give me 5 years, the last 5 years of results. Satisfaction came back on this course, 98.3% satisfaction rate. That's 5 years. All instructors, all classes, everything. That's very high. And there are 9 million graduates of this course. That's bigger than the population of Sweden. 9 million graduates around the world. 90% of the American Fortune 500 companies use our training. And these are the biggest, most powerful companies in the world. And trust me, you want to work with these guys, you've got to be the best of the best. And they use Dale Carnegie because they see us like that. This course, as I said before, is 104 years old. So imagine, this is 100 years of Kaizen, continuous improvement on this course. It is amazing. It is so subtle. It is so well thought through. When I took the course, I didn't notice because you kept very busy during the course. Time just goes like that, honestly. 3.5 hours, gone. But when I came to teach the course, that's when I realized how sophisticated, how nuanced, how really well developed this course is over such a long period of time. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Now, to become an instructor to teach this course, you have to put in 250 hours of boot camp. So that means your instructors are at a very high level and they have to recertify every year. They have to pass a test to recertify every year. So our instructor level is very, very high. It'll be probably, I would guess, when you meet our instructors, they will be by far the most elite instructors you've ever had any experience of to date in your life. Training level is so different because of this very, very strict regime we have. Warren Buffett, you know Warren Buffett, he's a very famous American investor. You know, he's got Berkshire Hathaway as his flagship company. The guy's a legend. You know, he's a really strong supporter of our course. He says, this course changed my life. And it's true, it changed his life. And there are so many people like this who say the same thing. It's true. So, I'm not going to go through everything now, but over the 6 weeks, we go through, and it's actually will be on the flyers you're going to get. On the back, you'll see the 12 weeks. It's a build. You do things in this week, and then you report in this week. You start here, and you've got homework that you report on down here, or things you work on over a number of weeks of time. So it's a mixture of stress management, mixture of speaking skills, reporting skills, communication skills, all these sorts of things all the way through. I won't go through all those now, but you get down to week 12, and that's celebration at the end where you actually give your presentation for your graduation, right? So it's very, very clever, very well synchronized, because they've been doing this for such a long time, they've worked out the exact right pattern of how to get that knowledge. Now, sometimes you may miss a week because you're sick or you're traveling for your company or whatever. Doesn't matter. You come back and do the exact same course in another group that week. If it's week 10, this is what you'll do in week 10. It'll be exactly the same content, taught in exactly the same way. The only difference is the people in the class will be different to your normal class. When I did the course, I did 7 weeks in English, and then I did 5 weeks in Japanese, because my Wednesday English class, if I missed it, on Saturday there was the same week in Japanese, so I've got to do the Japanese one. It's exactly, I was amazed, exactly the same content. Language made no difference. So you can catch up anything you miss. So here's a guarantee. If you are not satisfied with this course, it is free. You get your money back. We don't argue, we don't debate, you get your money back. Because when you've got a 98.3% average over 5 years, you can be confident to give 100% guarantee, right? So if you're not satisfied, you tell us, you get your money back. So the course for you is free, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Who has the first question? Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of homework involved, or?
Yeah, there is. The homework is not so much, you know, like a casebook study like you do at business school. It's not like that. The homework is really thinking about what's happening in your life and your work, and looking for how you could use the principles or the things you've learned to work on that issue. And what you'll do is you'll scope out what you need to do, and then you do it, and then you come back and you tell us what happened. So that's the homework, you know. For example, if you had someone that you need to have a much better relationship with, closer relationship with, then you would pick a couple of the principles. You say, right, I'm going to use these 3 principles and try and change my relationship with this person. And then maybe 6 weeks later, you'll come back and tell us what happened. That's the type of homework. It's that type of, it's real, it's practical. It's not theory, it's not, you know, book study. It's real world, using what you've learned, applying. I know, but I don't do. That's a waste. I know and I apply, now I get the benefit. There's the next question. Yeah.
How many people are involved?
We take a maximum of 30. Max is 30. We probably average around about between 20 and 25. For the English class, it'll probably be less. The English class is probably going to be somewhere around about 15. English class, just for the nature of it, because it's English, because we're in Japan, probably about 15 to 20, somewhere in that bracket. The next question. Yeah, if you've got some questions, you'd like to ask, maybe you want to ask them publicly, that's fine. You can ask them to us directly and we'll answer those for you. But please take some time and fill in that survey.